Thank you, Christy, and thank you very much everyone for being here today to hear about Sky Metals. So we're a tin explorer and we have the Tullabung Tin Project. We're very focused on that. It's a big historic tin mine. It's right in the middle of New South Wales. It's about a 7-hour drive from Sydney, and looking it up last night, I think it's about an 11-hour drive from us here in Adelaide today. So quite an accessible project, but very extensive historic workings. And crucially, we have found that it is a deposit ideally suited to modern technology. So we're very lucky to have modern technology that's ideally matched to the type of ore that we have, and looking forward to talking about that today. Quick disclaimer there. To look at our board, Norm Seckold is the chairman. He's a long-time mining entrepreneur, been chairman of a number of successful companies for quite a few years now. Richard Hill and Remus Karaitis are also on the board. These two are excellent people to have involved in a New South Wales project. They were founding directors of Aurelia Metals, and they took that from an exploration company right through into a developing mining company. And Hera, which is their first mine, is actually one of the closest mines to Tullabung. So very experienced operators in this area. And myself, previously with Evolution Mining and Alkane Resources, involved in some of the exploration success that they've had there. We're currently capitalised somewhere around 30 million, and importantly, we've got quite a lot of cash on hand. We completed a successful, very well supported raise towards the end of last year for about $6 million, and we have a lot of that left in the bank to now deploy and advance this project very quickly. Just to go into a little bit about tin, not many people are familiar with it, but just to say to begin with that tin trades at about 3.5 times the copper price, so it's a very valuable commodity. And currently it's absolutely fundamental in all modern technologies. Tin is used as a solder to hold together all electronics, and about 50% of tin use is in that. And that means that every device that you own has tin holding it together. There's even about 400 grams in your car. In an EV, there's about 1.2 kilograms. So it's an absolutely vital metal for the growing global economy and vital in PV cells as well. It forms a solar ribbon which goes around the outside of solar cells, and they've also got these new PSC cells that are going on top of solar cells to increase efficiencies. They initially used lead, but now are using tin increasingly in those, and they're a new technology that's going to see a lot of growing demand for tin over the next few years. The tin price is inelastic. There's no replacement for tin in products, so the tin price can go to $100,000 a tonne and you still need to buy tin. There's nothing else that can do the job it does. It's a very unique metal in that sense, and the world has a very shaky supply line of tin. A lot of tin comes from the developing world, quite a lot from China, quite a lot from Indonesia, and recently we saw about 6% or more of the world's tin supply come offline, with the rebel group M23 moving south in the Congo. So this has really shown the fragility of the tin market and the fact that there's not many good, reliable, ethical sources of supply, and very few options on the ASX to invest in tin, and that's where Sky Metals comes in. So this is an aerial photo of our Tullabung Tin Project. You can see the large area of disturbance there from almost 100 years of previous mining, but that really represents a lot of shortcuts for us at Tullabung to bring this into production quickly. So obviously it's already a disturbed site, so from a lot of the feedback we've had from the New South Wales government, really the best thing that can happen to this site is that we get it back into production and we start mining here again. And other shortcuts include already having power lines to site, haul roads to site, an old water pipeline down the Lachlan River, a lot of things that we can plug into and quickly get this operation back into production. And we're exploring the underlying hard rock resource at Tullabung that largely remains intact, and that's what we've been focusing our exploration on and expanding it. And the really other advantages of technically what this project has is a very low cost profile. So we're looking at low cost mining. We have a stacked vein system, so the veins are sort of stacked as you mine one vein, you're moving into the next vein, which means you have very low strip ratios. You have a deposit that's starting from surface, so you're mining it straight away, and we continue to grow it with every new drill hole. In addition to that, we have this new modern technology of ore sorting, which has been really advanced down at the Renison tin mine in Tasmania on tin. it is absolutely ideally suited to our deposit and gives us a terrific advantage. It upgrades our ore and importantly gets rid of a huge amount of mass before we have to do costly processing on it. So that has the added benefit of significantly reducing our OPEX. If before we thought that we're going to have to spend $100 million on building a plant here, because we get rid of 80% of the mass at least before we put it into the plant with this ore sorting, that means that that plant will now be $20 million. So there's a huge CapEx benefit to this project and OPEX benefit with this ore sorting. And then the downstream processing is very simple. So we just have a simple gravity plant that makes up a tin concentrate that's readily saleable with very high payabilities. So it's a very robust project in these senses and makes it very low cost, which means we can focus on a lower grade resource. And already we have defined a significant bulk tonnage resource, but with this recent drilling, we are excitingly starting to find some higher grade zones here as well, and predominantly on the margins of where we currently have our resource. So we've got 11 metres at over 1% tin with a bit of silver down to the south. Just to emphasise, 1% tin is probably 3.5% copper equivalent, and that doesn't really do it justice because it's so cheap for us to process it. Compared to a copper concentrate or something, it really is very high value mineralisation there. And we're also looking at a few eastern extensions, which is broadening out the deposit now. And we don't know where the margins of this deposit are, but with every hole we've been growing it. This is a cross-section here onto the eastern margin of the deposit. This is one of our most recent diamond drill holes where we've stepped out to the east and we've continued to find more of this stacked lode system out to the east. And given that we're intercepting it so shallow, almost within 10 metres of surface, that's showing us that this system well and truly extends off to the east and is very open for us to continue to expand the resource. We've now got an RC rig turning up tomorrow at Tullabung, and we'll be into drilling this project and continuing the expansion. So it's quite an exciting time for us to build on what is already a compelling resource and continue to expand it. Our resource at the moment is 15.6 million tonnes at 0.15% tin, but that doesn't include any of our last year to 18 months of drilling. So it's quite an outdated resource now. But the very important thing to notice about that head grade is that 0.15% tin can be upgraded using the ore sorting to over 0.7% tin. And we're seeing that we're getting close to 100% recoveries of tin through that upgrade process, and that's producing a pre-concentrate that's equivalent to over 2 grams or over 2% copper in value. So a very high value product to then be running through our plant. And just to explain a little bit on how this ore sorting works, the real key for us is that we have a very boring host rock. It's largely quartz and sandstone, and it's got a density of about 2.7 tonnes per cubic metre. And the cassiterite itself has a density of about 7 tonnes per cubic metre. And you can see some of the cassiterite there as those black chunks. We've got very large chunks of cassiterite, which is quite unique to this deposit. And it means that the ore sorter uses X-rays. These X-rays, like an X-ray X-rays your arm and can see the bone. These X-rays pass through the rock and they can see the tin grains within the rock. And each rock that has a tin grain in it or more gets fired off and accepted, and all the rocks without tin in them get rejected. So it's a very simple process that we use with the ore sorting, that we're seeing over 80% of the mass reduced there. We're seeing a big upgrade in grade, and now with some more aggressive ore sorting where we've really focused on the larger bits of tin and not worried about smaller bits of tin in rocks, we're seeing a really phenomenal upgrade of over 44 times, taking a 0.1% tin sample to over 4.5% tin, which is sort of 13% copper or something, very high value from there. And that was getting rid of 98% of the mass that went in. So we're now looking at this as something that can really make our downstream plant very, very small and our OPEX to process this ore very, very small. And this is just to give you a bit of a peek behind the curtain on how the ore sorter sees the world. On the right-hand side here is the unclassified image, and that kind of looks like the X-ray you get from your doctor. And then they classify that image, and all of the blue spots are those darker spots in the image, and they're the tin grains that the X-rays spot. And then they run over a panel of air jets, and all of those grains that have tin in them get fired off by the air jets, and everything else drops off. And it's through that process of X-raying and classifying the rock and then sorting it with the air is how we're seeing these terrific results at this deposit. There are some shallower, higher grade zones. These are obviously really important for quick payback of CapEx. This way we can pay CapEx on a future project back in hopefully months rather than years. And we're obviously finding more of these higher grade areas as we continue to do our expansion drilling. Importantly as well, we selected 6 sites earlier in the year to do a trenching sample. So we're very lucky to have a deposit that comes to surface, and that means that we can dig straight into it. And you can see the excavator there digging out the trench. We took trench samples, channel samples along the bottom of these trenches of the rock, and then we used those trench samples to pick 4 sites to take a bulk sample. And we took about 10 to 20 tonnes from each bulk sample site. Those have now been sent down to TOMRA. As we speak, TOMRA are running them through full-scale ore sorters. They will make an ore sorting concentrate, and then that will go downstream to ALS Perth and ALS Burnie to then make up a sample concentrate of tin concentrate that we can then use for downstream marketing. We see this project as making a very high-grade tin concentrate, which at the moment is in very high demand. As the tin market has become challenged, they're accepting lower and lower grade concentrates, and they need higher grade concentrates for the smelters to blend. And these higher grade concentrates that we see this project producing are going to be invaluable. So once we can make up some samples and use that for downstream marketing, we're looking at really sailing this project as very desirable. So over the next few months, we've got quite a lot of work to come. We're well funded, and we're starting off this multi-rig drill campaign now. That's going to start tomorrow with the drill rig arriving. Looking to complete that in the next couple of months. On the back of that, we're looking to go into updating our resource, announcing that to the market, looking for substantial growth there, and then coming into mining studies, which are going to be a key part of this project to demonstrate all of those advantages that we've discussed that this project has and show the potential of how much money this project can make. We're also well advanced in terms of environmental studies. We took, I think now looking at it, the very wise move of starting this early. So we installed some groundwater monitoring bores over 18 months ago. You need 2 years worth of data in New South Wales to lodge your EIS for mining. We're almost at the completion of that. We've got a weather station on site. We've gone through geochemical characterisation of the ore, and we've gone into biodiversity studies and things as well. And that's all now well advanced to the point that once we have detailed mining studies to show us where the pits are going and things, we can really quickly run into the approvals process. And as we said, given the history of this site, the large historic disturbance, we're thinking that this can be a very quick process to get this place back into production. As mentioned, we're concurrently working through our environmental processes now, looking to do those more advanced environmental studies when we know those firm pit outlines, and then also working through our technical studies, which are quickly accelerating the project, looking to add a lot of value to Sky very quickly over the next few months. And we look forward to delivering on some feasibility studies later in the year. Thank you very much.